I was born to a white trash mother, had a white trash brother. Not a penny to my name, not a dollar to discover. Never getting anywhere, never gonna see the light. Never finding my purpose, never feeling my might. But one fine day, I was looking through the trash at a local John Stone, got a revelation. Like whiplash. In the bottom of the garbage was a book I saw, written by a little fella named Weldon Long. Weldon led me back to the light. Now I'm in a Chris Craft with a supermodel wife. Oh, what have you done? Oh, what have you done? Don't know capacity, I don't know sear. It don't matter much when you're drinking $1,000 beer. Your mates say I'm the problem and not the solution. You're the hero and I'm the institution. You stay late and don't even make a dollar. That means I got the leash and you wear the collar. I didn't make you read a book on airflow. I guess it was the last one on the rack? No? You did it on purpose? That don't make sense. I got a chair on the beach and you can't even make rent. Why does it have to be this way? You might think that I'm the villain, but I'm not, and let me tell you, I'm the cautionary tale sent by all the fellas. So it's money what you seek, it's the money's what you get. Don't set up any boundaries, you won't have regrets. But I'm not Machiavelli, even though I thought I could be. That old Machiavelli must have never kept a memory. This whole thing, it was just a game to win, just eating up my sin and spit out again. So my words of advice are work with your hands, lead a quiet life where you can sleep at night. You can take it with you. You can take it with you. Ba-da-da-ba, ba-da-da-ba. Ba-ba-da-da-ba, ba-da-da-ba. Use the Shop Talk discount code to save 8% when purchasing all of those great tools at TruTechTools.com. This video is brought to you by Beckett, HVAC pump solutions you can trust. Learn more at BeckettUS.com/industrial. I think that I might be becoming like an old man or something like that, because my way of thinking has changed quite a bit as the years go by, and it tells me these things are cyclical and predictable, that your manner of thinking will change as you get older. And it tells me that I guess my dad was right about a lot of stuff. That being said, I want to talk about the way we do things in our trade. I want to talk about the way we treat older technicians, younger technicians. You know, stereotypically, younger technicians are just brats, and they play on their phones all day, and that's how they live their lives. And older technicians are stuck in their ways. They don't want to change and do anything the new way. They don't want to use any new technology. The stereotypes, of course, don't apply to everybody, but what is the deal with older technicians? And I kind of thought about this, and it kind of came to me like a vision, if you will. I got a vision. How's that? Well, I got a vision. I am Vision from Marvel. That's what I am. See, we look exactly alike, right? No. Then I realized that these older technicians were working off of principles that were rooted over time. And it got me thinking about Jim Bergman. Jim Bergman had, hold on a second. So this book right here, Review of Vacuum for Service Engineers by, Saunders and Williams, revised 2020 by Jim Bergman and Brianne Orr. Why do I bring this book out? Well, this book is rooted in old-timey principles of vacuum that go back decades. But we're still preparing them and giving them to people as if they're brand new information. So we kept that same information for decades and decades, and the principles didn't change. Okay, all right. So we go to a system, we look at the refrigerant level, and we're still assessing refrigerant level with the same principles and practices that we have for decades. Although technology has changed, the way the measurement is gathered may change, what you're gathering has not changed. Now, I used to think that that wasn't the case, that when you went and gathered information, you were actually doing it in a new way that had never been done before. Then I just realized that I was learning the way it was supposed to be done, and the way it was supposed to be done has been around for a long time. And no digital gauge is required. I mean, you really don't have to have digital gauges to appreciate these principles, which is one of the reasons why I think older gentlemen and ladies, although I've never seen an older lady HVAC technician, I'm sure there's one out there. But the older technicians, they don't use that stuff because I think they realize the important thing is the principles that you have to learn to understand this trade versus the way you gather information. Although the way you gather information, i.e. smart probes, i.e. combustion analyzers, i.e. all this stuff, is very, very important to accuracy. Now, there are machines that tell you. The iManifold told you a little bit. MeasureQuick tells you a little bit. Combustion analyzers tell you a little bit. But it doesn't matter if you're inexperienced. I do believe that where the older technicians are right on the money is the principle is primary. The principle is number one, and secondary is the measurement accuracy. So learn the principle, measurement accuracy. Am I saying I'm reversing myself on digital gauges? That you should no longer worry about digital gauges? No, I am not. Digital gauge, why not have the accuracy too? Why not combine both worlds? Because it ends up that these practices are symbolic for the group that uses them the most. If you go back to principles and you treat technology as secondary, then all of a sudden you're some kind of old fart. So then you have a younger generation that is close to technology and principles are secondary. This is not across the board. This is just perception and reality in many cases. So why not bring those two things together? Can we get our pride out of the way and bring those two things together? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't that be nice if we could just do that? Why not appreciate the principles? Why not read a book, which a lot of you do? Here's a review of Vacuum right here. I think we might have given one of these away. I highlighted a bunch of stuff in this book. I really, really like it. I'll tell you what. We'll look down at the page real quick. Just craps and giggles. I love this stuff, guys. You look at this stuff and, I highlighted all this information. Barometer versus, see, it has 29.921 inches barometer versus 30 inches barometer. If you're sitting there going, what is he even talking about? We need to read this book. And I'll give you one more highlighted phrase. Let's see. One highlighted phrase to draw you in. Let's try this one. If we heat this column of mercury, it will not change in weight, but will expand in length. So by establishing the temperature of the mercury column at 58.4 degrees Fahrenheit instead of 32, the length is increased to even 30 degrees, to an even 30, not 30 degrees, but 30 inches. Again, you're saying, what? What are you talking about? Read the book. Read the book. It's very, very good. I have to reread it because I don't even understand what I just read. I have to reread it again. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there, a lot of old school stuff that's used to illustrate principles that you need right now. So go get those principles right now. Go get them. I mean, listen to the rest of this, but go get them. That's about it for this particular segment here. Review of Vacuum. Embrace the old. Embrace the new. Bring them both together. Don't be stuck in your pride. Why? Stick to what works. Maybe in the next section or in a different section, we'll get more onto technology that you don't need versus technology that looks cool. There's a lot of stuff out there that looks awesome that you do not need. Maybe a combustion analyzer. You don't need a combustion analyzer. Maybe you're one of those guys that are like, I don't even need one ever. And I work on furnaces all the time. I don't need a combustion analyzer. My daddy didn't have one. Maybe we talk about that later. But yeah, we'll save that for later. So, what is Company Cam all about? It's about real time job site updates, live feeds from the site. It's about communication between you and your team via the app. It's about knowing exactly what's going on, what's been done, and what hasn't been done. It's about liability protection, documentation, and communication. Find out more at companycam.com. This is the YJAC Mano dual port manometer. This is what we have all been waiting for. A YJAC probe where you can take your static pressure and check blower performance in real time. Part number 67068 from Yellow Jacket. Take accurate static pressure measurements up to plus or minus 80 inches of water column. Includes hoses, static pressure probes, and adapter fittings. The YJAC Mano manometer, 67068. Hello, my name is Zach Ciota, and this is the HVAC Fake News. Monkeypox is the same as smallpox. Prove me wrong. Many HVAC manufacturers are gearing up for their yearly dealer meetings. Trained dealers can expect to meet at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in luxurious New York. Carrier Bryant dealers are meeting at the Mesa Verde Bellagio Casino in Las Vegas. And Nordine dealers will again this year meet at the Scat Through at the local Hardee's in Winnebago, Massachusetts between 7 and 8 p.m. One HVAC dealer found himself in hot water this week after requesting that only lesbians apply to his company. After consulting with his more educated son, the dealer realized that the acting abilities he thought would be useful in sales did not come from lesbians, but thespians. The EPA just released its Ready, Set, Die initiative for technicians, where they are searching for even more explosive refrigerants and more dangerous refrigerants for technicians to use. The EPA has toyed with the idea of using magma from a local volcano in Hawaii. They are also seeing if any of the radioactive uranium isotopes will work for refrigerant as well. And lastly, the EPA is trying to harness the power of fire and turn it into a liquid, although the closest they can come to is a Monster energy drink. In a desperate attempt to acquire more educated and proficient employees and just people willing to come to work at all, companies are now reaching out to daycares to find children over the age of 4 that have any mechanical ability, but also keep the poo-poo pants to a minimum. Technician Bobby Bobetti found himself in quite a pickle this week up in Massachusetts, again Massachusetts in the news, when he spoke out against unions. He said unions are nothing but communist organizations and should be abolished completely. After attending a union rally to protest, Bobby Bobetti has not been seen since. HVAC equipment manufacturer Carrier Corporation is under fire because the term carrier seems to allude to the fact that they are carrying some sort of disease. Many doctors say that people that are suffering from a disease are in fact carriers. But because Carrier does not want to stand out in this environment of COVID and monkeypox, they are now going to change their names to Boosted Twice and We're Good to Go Corp. OSHA has just released its latest guidelines for urinating on the job site. Many job sites, they have no porta potties, there's no working bathrooms, or the workers are restricted from the existing bathrooms. OSHA has released a wide guideline including how many leaves per foot a bush must be to urinate behind it, how rural an environment must be for you to pee in the middle of the backyard, and how badly you have to go before resorting to peeing around the corner of a house while peeking around periodically to see if anybody is coming. OSHA will be releasing more guidelines concerning the poop bucket coming early in 2023. That is your HVAC news for this week. I'm Zach Ciota. So when getting back to my roots, I want to take a little bit of information from the Bible and use it to sort of illustrate a point that I think will help a lot of us out there in the trade, in your regular life, just a universal point to keep in mind when you're dealing with people. And this particular story is from, let's see, the book of Matthew. I'm looking down in it right now. It's Matthew 18. We're going to be starting in verse 21. And this is the parable of the unforgiving servant. And it reads, "Then Peter came up and said to him, 'Lord, how often will my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? As many as 7 times?' Jesus said to him, 'I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times. Therefore the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his servants. When he began to settle, one was brought to him and owed him 10,000 talents. And since he could not pay, his master ordered him to be sold with his wife and children and all that he had, and payment to be made. So the servant fell on his knees, imploring him, 'Have patience with me, and I will pay you everything.' And out of pity for him, the master of the servant released him and forgave him the debt. But when that same servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii, and seized him and began to choke him, saying, 'Pay what you owe.' So his fellow servant fell down and pleaded with him, 'Have patience with me, and I will pay you.' He refused and went to put him in prison until he should pay the debt. When his fellow servants saw what had taken place, they were greatly distressed, and they went and reported to their master all that had taken place. Then his master summoned him and said to him, 'You wicked servant, I forgave you all the debt because you pleaded with me. And should not you have had mercy on your fellow servant as I had mercy on you?' And in anger his master delivered him to the jailers until he should pay all of his debt. So also my heavenly Father will do every one of you if you do not forgive your brother from your heart." A lot of people pay lip service to things. They'll say things because they know they're the right things to say. And even though they've said these things, they don't believe them in their heart. They say them, and I'm guilty of this just like probably every single one of you. They say them to get ahead in their job. They say them to appease somebody. They say them to avoid a conflict. And forgiveness is hard. Just like confronting people is difficult. It's difficult to work a situation out with confrontation. And I don't mean angry confrontation where you take people on and you're fighting with them and you're arguing with them. That's not productive. But the kind of confrontation that has patience, where you talk to somebody and work something out, and you're actually trying to reach an agreement. The idea is not to win, it's to figure out how to move past something. And that can be difficult because that requires compromise and requires you to let up on your pride. Let up on your pride and abandon all of your prideful ways. Wow, that's the tough one right there. Abandoning your prideful ways is the big one. The big one. Because forgiveness is a pure thing. Forgiveness is not mentioning it later and keeping count of how many times you've forgiven somebody. There's no score to win. You're not going to win. You don't win your way to heaven by accruing a certain amount of good deeds. That's essentially the very reason why I believe the whole thing is structured that way. So you can't do that. You don't get patted on the back for doing good deeds. Therefore, your deeds are pure in my heart. That's what I think. Let me explain. When you do something knowing that there is a reward directly correlated to that action, you're going to want to do it. But if you know there is no reward, there's nothing you're going to get out of it except for doing the right thing, and you still do it, that's what a pure action, a pure forgiveness is constituted of. It's hard to do that because you always want to explain your side. You want to explain why you're the best. In saying that, I feel like it would be a good time to mention my once good friend, John Israel. And I mention this because I saw on the internet the other day that he had a post where he compared when he was very heavy to when he had lost a whole lot of weight. And I was reading it and I looked at it and it said, "Suck it, HVAC Shop Talk." I was thinking to myself, why did he say that? Why would he say that? After all this time, I've made efforts to try to be nice. Why would he say that now? And I realized that that wasn't the point. It wasn't the point to wonder why or be angry about it, because I'm not angry about it. In fact, let me say this, and this is pure, and this is my good message for John Israel. I'm proud of you, man. You've done such a good job losing weight. You've done just a lot of hard work. I've seen what it's like for a patient after those surgeries, what the difficulty they have in eating, the fact that they can only eat a small amount of food, and you really don't even want to eat food at all. They have extreme weight loss the first few weeks, and it's a good thing, but it's also very difficult. And the fact that he's seen it through, and I want to say congratulations to you, and that I release any anger that I ever had, any issues that I ever had, they are released. And I suggest that you release and move on as well. Take the good deed and the good thing that you are experiencing and just enjoy it. That's all I would say. I will say this, in the time since I've spoken with John, which has been several years, at first I was very bitter. I was very bitter about it. Look, there's a fly on my face. It's the bitter flies here. The bitter fly is here, and now the bitter fly is gone. I was bitter, and I was angry. I was spiteful, and it was not productive. It was getting in the way of anything productive happening, and it just wasn't a good way to be, because you can't function like that in a positive, godly way. You have to release that. You have to forgive people, because, geez, God has forgiven us, and there is no reason why we deserve to get what God is prepared to give us. There's no way we earn it. You can't earn your way into His grace. His grace is available only through belief and confession of belief. You don't earn that. You can't do a good deed. You can't pull an old lady out from in front of a bus and then say, well, I've got my spot in heaven. It just doesn't work like that. And it's brilliant because it takes all of the self-gratifying nature out of it. You have to be selfless for it to work. It's just brilliant, and it's wonderful. And I know that John, I've heard him talk about it. I know he's a godly guy. And having that and using that and feeling that in your heart, I think is a wonderful thing. I struggle with stuff all the time, 24 hours a day, every day. Sin is as big a part of my life as it ever was. But I've made a choice that I'm choosing Jesus. I'm choosing God. That's the way I'm going to go. And it's not just a feeling that you have. It's a choice that you make. Because I used to think that love was a feeling. Like, I feel love. Like, you see somebody, it's like, oh, she's beautiful. I love her. That's not exactly what I believe it is anymore. I believe love is, you have a good feeling inside when you see somebody. But love is also a choice that you make. You decide that you're going to show someone love, goodness, favor, in spite of what they've done to you or what you perceive they've done to you. I think that's the only way we really get past this stuff, guys. And we're not ever going to be perfect. We have to live with the fact that we're full of a world of people that are imperfect and are going to hurt each other all the time. And that's the toughest part, because we're not going to wake up one day on this world and say we solved the problem, because it's just not going to happen. And that's both the beauty and the pain of the whole thing. It's really, really tough. But I thought this was a great segment to talk about, because I need to do work in this area. Okay, I need to do work, and not just with John Israel, with just a ton of people in my life. With John, I'm just going to say, John, congratulations. I think it's great. You look fantastic. I hope you feel wonderful. I hope you wake up in the morning and you feel better than you ever have before. I know that apnea problems and things like that can disappear. I can't imagine the difference that you feel. So, God bless you, brother. We may not be friends anymore, but I am proud of what you've done. And I hope it continues, and I hope it spreads to other people around you, and you're an inspiration to other people. This is the Navag NP2 DLM break-free cordless vacuum pump. Unlike most vacuum pumps, these run off of battery power. No more cords across a roof, no more looking for a plug. These pumps use high-performance lithium-ion batteries powering a brushless DC motor. Features include isolation ball valve, backflow prevention check valve, and an ultimate vacuum of 23 microns. Plus, it's probably the lightest vacuum pump you'll ever own. This is the MP2 DLM vacuum pump from Navag. EWC Controls makes forced air zoning products that you can trust, and on the screen right here is the model URD. This is the backbone here. This is your air control damper. The sizes range from 4-inch models all the way up to 20-inch models, and the CFM ranges from 40 CFM all the way up to 2500 CFM. Find out more about URD dampers and everything else EWC Controls offers at their website, ewccontrols.com. Fake news outtakes. Many of our familiar manufacturers of HVAC equipment are having their Many familiar HVAC manufacturers are now gearing up for their Many beloved HVAC manufacturers are gearing up for their yearly dealer. The EPA just released its